I'm Jim Baskel. Let's lead it off with Major League Baseball, where the Blue Jays came in winners of 5 straight and 8 of 9. They're just 3 games back of Boston for the second American League wild card and 3.5 off the New York Yankees. A lead for the first wild card, and they again lead in the Bronx 4-1 in the 6th. Story here, Garrett Cole left the game with a left hamstring injury. Meantime, the Rays, who rallied from 6-1 down on Monday, lead again at Fenway Park 8-1. Nelson Cruz, 2 home runs. He now has 30 on the season. Wander Franco has yet to reach base. He came in having reached base in 36 straight games. Over in the National League, the Brewers looking to snap a 6-game slide against Philadelphia, up 3-0 in the 4th. The Phils came in a game and a half off the lead in the National League East. The Braves, at the top of that division, lead the Nationals 4-1 in the 4th. Adam Duvall, a 3-run shot. His 32nd of the season is the difference. Mets and Marlins moving to the 6th inning. That game's square at 4 apiece. Mets president Sandy Alderson said Jacob deGrom's elbow injury, a partial tear of the UCL in that right elbow. And the ligament, though, now is perfectly intact. Clayton Kershaw, a rehab start tonight, could make his next start in the majors. Dodgers trail the Cardinals 2-1 in the 4th. They trail the Giants by game for the top spot in the National League East, and San Francisco has put a 2 spot on the board in the opening inning in Colorado. Meantime, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin optimistic he'll have J.J. Watt for Sunday's season kickoff in Buffalo.
Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you my real rankings of the quarterbacks that you need to be watching for in week 1 of the NFL season. You will not want to miss it. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, Wednesday morning on ESPN Radio.
Isn't this a sports show?
Clinton has said, accurately, I might add, on the Facebook page. Almost Entirely Sports, a show where Josh reads all of his tweets, and I have no counter-argument to that. That is true and fair.
Almost entirely.
Excuse me. I'm talent. I'm talent, sir. Unhand me.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I am Joshua Brisco. Rudy with the reverse slam. Beard with a judgmental gaze. What's up, Beard? How you doing? I'm here.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Is this the most important thing I could be talking about? Well, I mean, probably not. Debatable.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Whole bunch of stuff to talk about here tonight on this edition of Almost Entirely Sports. I'm Joshua Brisco, Rudy Salazar, Beards McFly, the trio here to talk about a bunch of things. We've got a Chiefs game just around the corner. It's the Seth Keysor Tuesday. We have a truly, actually massive show announcement to make here in just a little bit. And Rudy is doing a fantasy draft.
I'm on the clock. Travis Kelce went 7. Right
oh, wow. You're picking 8?
Yeah.
What's been the board so far? Take us with you.
So, McCaffrey 1, Cook 2, Mahomes 3, Kamara 4, Henry 5, Devontae Adams 6, Travis Kelce 7.
Oh, it's Zeke's at the top of your board, right?
Saquon Barkley. I got 20 seconds.
Saquon and Zeke both have bad vibes for me this year, man. I skipped on both
I'm
of
kind of
them.
leaning into Aaron Jones.
Oh, where's Todd Gurley?
I
Aaron
like
Jones
the
at
receiving
8.
option. Maybe Jonathan Taylor.
PPR league?
I got 10 seconds. I got to make a decision.
Got to make a decision.
Tyreek Hill.
Really? He's going to take Aaron Jones.
No, I actually did take Tyreek Hill.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Wow, receiver in the. You get to pick again in a couple picks here. Yeah. One of those running backs will still be there in a few picks. Yeah. You'll get.
I wanted to make sure I got a top-notch receiver.
You get Zeke, Barkley, or Aaron Jones next.
I got
fine.
Taylor, Eckler, Jones.
Eckler too. You'll be fine.
I'm good with any of those.
You'll be fine. That 8 spot's not too bad.
Somebody's gonna take Saquon Barkley. Somebody's gonna take Ezekiel. I don't feel neither of them.
We'll follow along on Rudy's fantasy draft. We'll look ahead a little bit to Chiefs Browns. We'll do more of that tomorrow as well. And also, there are a couple of smaller stories from the NFL world that I'm really, really tickled by. That should, I think, also make everybody else very, very happy as well. It's just fun. The question here now, though, and the three of us have talked about this a little bit, but we haven't fully made the decision nor the declaration yet here. When should we do the announcement?
Yes.
Because we got Seth at the top of the 9. I don't want to make people wait a full hour. I also feel like maybe not top of the show. Maybe you make people stick around for a little bit. We got a couple of funny NFL stories that I feel like would be a good way to start the show on a normal night. You want to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, guys. You guys let me know. I need your feedback on this one, okay? I almost came up with a very heavy-handed tease for what the announcement will be, but I actually just, I decided not to. I could do a full, at the end of this break, if we get through this whole segment without spilling the beans, I could do a full Ryan Seacrest American Idol. Find out the almost entirely sports earth-shattering announcement after the break. I can do that if we can get through this segment.
Yeah.
We can do 15 minutes of radio here.
Okay, I'm up.
I can do that. You're picking again? What's your board look like, Rudy?
I got Aaron Jones.
Take him. Just do it.
Yeah, I'm taking Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I could go through some.
You almost
I
took
will
him at
say,
8.
like, Stephon
How
Diggs
many
is, like,
people are in this
intriguing.
draft?
10. Stephon Diggs
That's fast.
is intriguing. And just
Snake
having,
draft.
like, 2 great wide receivers. But, like, you
That-
probably should have...
That running back group gets thin
And
about the 4th,
there's a
5th
lot
round.
of good wide receivers.
Ton of them.
Yeah, I'm going to draft Aaron.
Ton of them. Keenan Allen is always there, like a full round later than you'd think.
I can't obviously know this because, like, I just don't have the information. I bet if you go back and look at, so I think roughly the last 6 years since Cooper Kupp got to the NFL, he has probably been on my team in like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And he's always there in like round 6.
Yep.
And he's always like a top 20 wide receiver.
Yep.
The
Every time.
dude is just great.
Yeah.
I want Cooper Kupp to be a Chief so bad. He's just the white pick. Right pick. Sorry.
So, here's my favorite thing from the football world.
Sorry, Wallaby says he's all about the Chubb Club. And now I kind of wish I drafted Nick Chubb to name my team the Chubb Club. It's a good name.
I'm still very proud of that one football fantasy team I've done, which was when we did the 30 player one or whatever a couple years ago, and I named my team Ha Ha Chicken Strips.
Yeah, it was
It was
very
very
good.
good.
That was my favorite.
I'm
That
in a
was very good.
16-team league, and
It was
Ha
a
Ha
lot.
Chicken
We
Strips.
did
It was a lot.
an AES massive league.
Yes.
That was something.
It
And then
was
we said
great.
we were going to do it again, and we haven't.
Well,
Yeah,
things happen.
maybe next year. So here's my favorite story of maybe the football season. Remember last year when the Denver Broncos had to play a game with no quarterbacks?
Oh, yes, I saw the story.
They had to play a game
Don't
with
recall.
They had to play a game with no quarterbacks last year. Apparently, John Elway was straight up on the phone, like talking to Roger Goodell.
Was he trying to play like that South Carolina GA?
Yes, basically
Trying to suit
yes.
up? Just like,
can
hey,
can I get out there on a vet minimum? That would be so
That
funny.
would be good.
I really like that idea. They get to this this unfortunate situation, and depending on the stories that you may have heard at the time, ultimately what the NFL said was, we're not going to move this because your quarterback room they didn't follow the protocols, and we're not going to derail this game because some of your guys didn't follow the protocols.
Don't be dumb.
Just simply don't be dumb. Here is a summary of a story from Sam Farmer in the LA Times. I would encourage, if you'd like more of the story, you can go to Sam Farmer's story. But Troy Rink of Denver 7, Denver, obviously. Stupid. Summarize it this way. Why did Goodell ignore the Broncos' pleas to move the Saints game? Surveillance video from Denver's facility showed quarterbacks had tried to fool the system. They had removed their contact tracing devices and put them in 4 corners of the meeting room. Then they sat together to watch film.
Oh my goodness.
There's just no reason to do this. This is just outrageously silly. So easy to solve, so easy to not do. You can just keep on your contact tracer and just watch the screen from 6 feet apart. And that's funny. The idea that Drew Lock and the rest of the Broncos quarterbacks last year took off as a coordinated effort. They were all like, guys, bleep this, am I right? Let's just throw our contact tracers in opposite corners of the room. No one's ever going to know. How would they know? Security cameras. That's funny, okay?
It is.
This story is funny.
It is funny.
I think my favorite. I saw this on Reddit, and I think my favorite comment was somebody put that they put their trackers on little Roombas and just sent them off together. It's like, yeah, they're totally following the rules. Why does this guy keep running into a wall?
So that's funny.
Do players not know that like their teams have cameras in the facilities? Because
No,
didn't
apparently not.
Tennessee have something like this? There was another
think
team
so.
that had a security like camera thing too.
I find this story very funny. Here, Rudy's up again. I'll save the funnier second bit next. 3rd round pick. What you got, Rudy?
So I'm looking at a lot of wide receivers here. We got A.J. Brown, Justin
I
Jefferson,
love A.J.
Terry
Brown.
McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Allen Robertson, C.D. Lamb. There's also, though, the George Kittle still there, but I think I can get Kittle on the go-around.
I love
Because
A.J. Brown.
here's
But you
the
get so
thing,
many
I
receivers
can definitely
there.
get Kittle because the next 2 people behind me are on auto draft. So it's just going to take the 4 best.
Wow.
Kittle's on the 4 best. So I know I think getting a tight end, a good tight end is probably smart. Maybe
Sure.
it's not Kittle, but I think
I
getting
love-
one of the better tight ends is smart.
I love A.J. Brown.
I'm guaranteed to get Kittle in the go-around, though, so I don't need to get him now. I also really like Justin Jefferson.
By the way,
I like
I
Justin
re-
Jefferson also.
I realized we were missing a bit here for Rudy's fantasy football draft. I have fantasy
we
music.
got 10 seconds.
I'll remember to play this next time.
I also will need to read the internet fully.
I'm
here
going to roll with
momentarily.
Justin Jefferson because I'm thinking maybe Julio Jones steals a few targets from A.J. Brown.
Sure.
And I'm right back up because, again, they auto-draft. I'm on the clock. So now, I got C.D. Lamb. We got George Kittle. Then you got running backs David Montgomery and Miles Sanders.
Oh,
Miles
man,
Sanders always worries me.
I would
I'm
be
gonna
tempted by
roll
Miles
with
Sanders just because I know that running back. How many
Yeah.
running backs do you start in this league?
2. I've got my 2 receivers. I'm feeling good there.
Kittle
roll
seems
down.
safe. Maybe Trey Lance throwing the ball to him in a little while.
Let's roll down.
It's our fantasy music again. If you missed that joke,
Yeah, I think running back. The running backs get real thin after this.
Why would you want a thin running back?
I wouldn't.
David Montgomery.
I want all my running backs to look like Maurice Jones-Drew. I want them to be an orb. You ever try to tackle a exercise
So what are
ball?
we thinking? I got David Montgomery, Miles Sanders. What do you guys like? 5,
Beard's pick.
4,
Sanders.
3. Montgomery it is.
It's fair.
I would now, with the Broncos story briefly in the rear view, I would like to read something again. So the surveillance camera shows that all these Broncos quarterbacks put their contact tracers in 4 separate corners of a room and then watch film close together. I would now like to read the internet, please.
And now, Josh reads the internet.
This is Drew Lock's apology from November 29th. As a proud member of the Denver Broncos, I can attest that our entire team has taken the COVID-19 pandemic seriously, following all of the rules to keep each other safe.
Roomba, come back here.
We're tested daily, get quick results, and are confident our facility is a safe environment for everyone. In a controlled and socially distanced area, we let our masking slip for a limited amount of time. An honest mistake, but one I will own. I sincerely apologize, and I fully understand why these safety precautions are so important. Doing the right thing for a majority of the time is not good enough. I pray for my teammates' health, safety, and success today. I look forward to getting back on the field next week. Go Broncos.
I think they bought it, you guys.
I would have given Teddy Bridgewater the job just based off this story.
Yeah.
I need a quarterback that has some decision-making abilities, and this is a dumb one.
Questionable.
This is a dumb decision and a bad apology. I'm sure someone somewhere is about to tell me that Sam
COVID's
Farmer
fake.
got fake news because COVID's fake and trackers don't work and that Roomba was just vacuuming. But there you
It
go.
was.
The cell phones.
Trying to come up with a joke about. Hold on. There are 17 games this year, so this is tougher than usual. The Broncos this season are going to go 5G and 12. It would have been funny to say 12 and 5G, but it also would have been so wrong.
Yeah, because
that no one would have taken that joke seriously. And you need.
I mean, maybe that's the
premise.
joke, is that they're good, but that's jokes have to be somewhat possible.
You got to be grounded in reality, right? And the idea of this Broncos team winning 12 games is just silly.
But they have Teddy Bridgewater now.
And I think that'll help them get to. I think they'll probably win more than 5 games.
7 seems doable.
But 7G and
that joke will be good in about 20
10.
years.
Yeah, right. Whenever 7G causes a pandemic, it'll be funny.
This draft's gonna go fast because this is a 10-team league and 4 are on auto draft.
That explains. You can go ahead and keep your volume up. I'm ready to hear Matthew Berry yell at
I've
you.
got music ready.
The fantasy music
Yeah,
is still ready.
This
I've
is
got
just gonna,
more.
I
gonna
will
speed through.
I will say this. I did.
I have a whole folder full.
I did back-to-back fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
Rudy, were you in 2 of them?
I was in 2
Both
of
of
them,
those?
Yeah. I did the 2, maybe the first 2 back to back.
Yeah, because the other one's a Yahoo one that I've been in forever. The other ones are I'm on ESPN. But I did 3 drafts on Sunday night. Yeah, it was on Sunday night. And man, fantasy drafts really are fun.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's probably a pretty lukewarm take, but I got this offseason is probably the closest I had gotten in a while to just being like, hey, I might just stop. I'm just really busy, and I'm the commissioner of the first 2 leagues, so I have to email everybody and be like,
a little bit more
"Hi,
work involved.
do you want to be in my league again?" I started this when I was 13, and I really didn't know what I was signing up for. But here we are, and a fantasy draft is great. I was excited to go look at the rankings. I do think that 3 is my max in terms of like full leagues.
Yeah.
Although some of the weekly stuff and some of the daily stuff and everything, I
It's a
might,
little different.
this might be the year for me to get in on that a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But I had a good time. I was sort of hoping to be interrupted by ESPN sounds, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit still.
So give me your roster right now again here, Rudy.
So currently looking at Aaron Jones and David Montgomery at running back, then Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson at wide receiver.
Did you take Kittle?
No. I ended up.
You ended up going.
running back.
Okay, got it.
And
There
I
are some
feel-
decent tight ends a little bit
the-
down the line.
They're
What do you need a tight
still-
end that blocks for?
That's a good point.
It's a great point.
Like, there's still
Beards.
guys like Kyle Pitts.
Do you get
and-
points for blocking as a tight end in fantasy? 'Cause
There-
I don't think you do.
There are more. There were better tight end options going forward than there really were running back options.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And there is like a little bit of with George Kittle. I mean, one, he obviously suffered injuries last year, and there's also just who's going to be his quarterback and for how long.
2 decent
No.
options, at least
Yeah, they're not bad.
for a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good tight end.
For
But
sure, for sure.
you want to have the depth at the positions you need the depth for.
And it's not, again, like if Kelsey went a pick before me, I would have drafted Kelsey at 8 because it's just like you just
I'm
have such
so not reading the internet. In fact, we're really talking about fantasy football right now, Beards.
you have such a big advantage.
Beards, I've had, just so you know, you're on thin freaking ice for me right now,
That's
Beards.
fine. Whatever. That's fine.
Thank you for getting the music. I'm sorry that I lashed
There's
out.
such
but
a big gap between Travis Kelce and just literally everybody else at tight end in fantasy sports that when you have a guy like that, you're just at such a clear advantage every week.
This music makes me want to go to my lineup so I can talk about my fantasy team.
Let's do it. Everybody loves when you
Just
talk
with
about your
this-
fantasy team.
Just with this music is really
I
doing
already
it for
know
me.
who my next pick is. Like I kind of have to draft this guy if he's there. Cooper Kupp is there. He's the second best on the board. And
I've been told that he's the correct pick. Was it
yeah, it's the only pick.
the premium pick,
Premium pick.
the choice pick?
The choice.
I ended up with Dak Prescott, I think, in 2 of my 3 leagues, because right around that, Rudy took Lamar Jackson right out under my freaking toes, a pick ahead of me in one of those leagues. I ended up with Russell Wilson in one and Dak Prescott in a couple leagues. Most
Dak's
people
not
maybe
bad.
have-
Dak's a good fantasy quarterback.
That range, Russell Wilson's probably in like 4, 5, 6. Dak's in 5, 6, 7, something like that. There's a drop off. All right, we go back to Rudy Salazar's board. If we could really just blast that music, Beards. If we could really just.
Well, hey, let it get to the crescendo. Let it get to the good
Okay,
part.
just he's on the clock.
Pick 47. Cooper Kupp.
You gonna
Can't get Cooper Kupp.
sweat it out? Well, who are you doing this league with, by the way?
Mostly high school friends and a couple people
So
who
lo-
I didn't know in high school.
but a long
people,
time league. Okay.
So this feels like a pretty good receiver option. I got Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, Julio Jones, DJ Moore, T. Higgins.
The Cup is on the top of the board, or did he go?
Who? Oh no, Cooper Kupp got drafted.
Oh!
I got 20 seconds. Pick before me.
Okay, so I rattle them off again.
So like Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, DJ Moore. That's kind of like the three that
Seems like a Godwin angle for
Yeah.
me. I think. Deontay Johnson makes me a little nervous. There's just a lot going on in Pittsburgh. And also, his quarterback is a Confederate statue.
Let's roll with Chris Godwin. I'm gonna let you take that one. We'll roll with
Or
Chris
is he a
Godwin.
Lego man, Josh?
Okay, now I'm up again.
He's a
'cause
Lego Confederate statue.
It's that fast turnaround.
Okay. What's your tight end board look like right now? What round is it?
So,
6, 7?
This is round 6, yes. And so it's Waller, Kelsey, and
Kittle are
are
gone.
gone. Still got T.J. Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts.
Hang on, I need to get more music.
Probably wait out one of
I am
them.
liking Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
And
I
it's gonna
didn't
be a
end up
while
with Kyle
before
Pitts anywhere.
it's gonna be a while before I'm up. So like, I'm kind of maybe leaning.
If
that
you drive the
way.
Danny Amendola, did you see he's having to do with the Texans?
Oh, goodness.
Danny
Dude.
Amendola is back, baby.
Jeez.
That's not fantasy, so we don't need the
Maybe
music. It's okay.
here's the thing: Gus Edwards gonna get a lot of run in Baltimore.
Is he still on the board there?
Yeah,
I kind of like that pick a little bit, although Le'Veon Bell in the practice
Kareem Hunt's
squad.
also there too. But I get a little worried with just because it's Chubb and Hunt, which always. But
Sure. Matthew
Matthew Berry.
That was jarring.
Let's go with Gus Edwards.
Selection was made.
Yeah, I drafted Gus Edwards. I feel pretty good about Gus Edwards.
I think your roster's coming together.
Here's the thing with the Fantasy Draft. We talked about how much we like it. I also hate it because I hate every pick I make except for probably Cooper Kupp. He's the only pick I ever
That's
make
even
that
there
I
for
don't
you.
hate.
Your
I
turnaround, you're
immediately
gonna
regret every single pick I make.
You're
always.
going quarterback, tight end on your next turn.
Yeah.
I can feel it from here.
Yeah. It would take somebody. I'm not even for sure who that. I mean, if Kareem Hunt somehow is there, which he won't be, then I might go that way again. But yeah, this feels like the quarterback tight end spot.
All right. Well, we've made it through.
Dak is still available, so Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson,
see,
Justin
that-
Herbert. There's a lot
that-
of quarterbacks there.
that little barbershop quartet right there.
Tom Brady.
I couldn't think of the word quartet, so I started with barbershop and hoped it would fill in, and it did.
Jalen Hurts
Is-
is also weirdly high now. I know that's the rushing aspect
Yeah.
of it, but he like his projected fantasy points still seems much higher
You had to get one of those
It's
one of
gonna
those
be.
four, I think. The Dak,
for sure. Dak,
Rodgers,
Rodgers,
Wilson, Herbert
Still
group
Brady.
seems good.
Still Brady.
I don't know,
Brady's
I
healthy
think-
this year.
I think
He
listen,
played all last year on one leg. The man's healthy.
I think if I've said it once, I've said
I
it
got
since 2000.
Godwin.
If I've said it once, I've said it since 2008. This is Brady's washed. Brady's washed,
Little
man.
Brady Godwin connection, you know?
Brady is an old man. Again, I've been saying this for a full decade now. He'll never win another ring.
Ooh, I got Justin Jefferson, which means I have to draft Kirk Cousins.
Oof.
So that both me and Justin Jeffersons can be yelling at him, Kirk, just throw the ball!
Where's Cole Beasley? Is he on the board still?
He's actually inactive. COVID protocol.
That doesn't seem right. That seems improbable. It's got to be some sort of fantasy. There has to be a rule broken if your quarterback is playing in a plexiglass container. Like it feels like that really is an
How are you
unfair
gonna sack him?
advantage. That's exactly what I'm
Exactly,
thinking.
yeah.
It's an
Well,
unfair advantage to the offense.
Well, wait a second here. Here's the real question about this whole plexiglass thing. How high up does it go? Because he's still got to throw that ball.
Yeah.
Does he have to basically just arc it straight up and then back over the glass so
Well,
that
is
the
it-
receiver's got to be like right in front of him to
His
catch it?
check down to Dalvin Cook has a 4-second air time.
Yeah, how much of a
It is-
how much of a wind up does he get? Can he go a full wind up? Because if he can't go a full wind up, the arm strength is now severely limited.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that's been important about Kirk Cousins' career so far, it's his awesome
Arm
arm
strength.
strength. Yeah, that's a great point. I think he throws it through the plexiglass every time, and they just bring out a new one.
Is there a little hole cut into it? He has to throw it right there, otherwise it's an incomplete pass.
Like the screen that a warm-up pitcher will use,
Yeah.
for the home run derby or in batting practice or whatever.
I mean, in theory, he could catch
Just
it,
do a-
so it
just
wouldn't be an incompletion.
Put
he
a
just
screen in front of him.
wouldn't have a lot of room to work with after that. You couldn't,
Right.
It's going to be hard to be tackled, but it's also going to be hard to gain yards. At some point, your forward progress is clearly stopped.
You know those Dr. Pepper barrels you have to throw a football into to win a scholarship because we live in a boring dystopia?
Yes. That's the only way we can give kids free money for college.
That's right. We have to
Dr.
have a
Pepper
corporate
and
sponsor
throwing
for
a
it.
football through a hole.
We have to have a corporate sponsor for it, and right now somebody is licking Cheeto dust off their fingers to tweet at me about how woke I am. Kirk Cousins is inside one of the Dr. Pepper containers, and he has to throw the ball out of it. You shouldn't lick Cheeto dust off your fingers, man. It's just gross. It's just, I don't like.
How do you get it off?
You don't.
You wash it. You wash your hands with soap and water.
It's there
Seems like
forever.
it's a waste.
So you guys eat.
a waste of
God, this is a stupid
creamy-
question. You would think
Creamy.
creamy.
I don't know why I said creamy.
Oh, how are your fingers creamy, man? This sucks. I should know this about Beards by now, but Beards, if we did chip rankings, I don't remember. If I give you nacho cheese Doritos or Cheez-Its, or not Cheez-Its, Cheetos or puffy Cheetos or whatever, something with cheese balls, something with cheesy powder, which one would you go to?
Cheetos.
You like Cheetos?
Yes.
Fine. I think we covered this a
Yeah.
couple shows back, but my memory is not
been a
very
while.
good. Rudy, I know you love a jalapeno
I do.
Cheeto. Nope, we got a Beards. Could you please hit the? We got two. I want to ask about Cheeto dust.
So I was like pretty heavy going tight
Here's a
end
tease.
quarterback.
These next two shows are going to be effing unhinged.
But the problem is, there's not really a tight end that I love.
S. Wallaby on Twitch says you could use chopsticks to eat Cheetos,
That's
and
wild.
that is awesome.
I think I'm almost leaning towards maybe going another receiver here. and then
Knife and a fork,
quarterback.
baby.
and I think you.
Fine dining.
S. Wallaby says, "Are you allowed to lick the cheese dust off chopsticks?" I'll say
got
yes.
Robbie Anderson.
I'll say yes because it's a utensil that goes in your mouth.
Kenny Galladay's always good. Chase Claypool.
What is your
Got
strategy
20
here?
seconds. The tight end. I don't love any of the tight ends. I may hold off on tight ends.
Did Pitts go?
He did. Yeah.
What's
I
your
got 10
quarterback
seconds.
choices?
I'm gonna wait till the next pick to draft a quarterback.
Don't take Robbie Anderson.
I'm gonna go with. Oh boy, this is bad. Chase Claypool. I hate this pick. 1 minute is not enough time.
Okay, Beard. Oh, we're back on the Bears are back on the clock.
That's how it's always gonna be. It's always gonna be back.
So
to
you're
back,
going quarterback
boom, boom.
here?
Yeah, quarterback.
What are
here.
your quarterback
so
options?
basically, it's Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady.
I'm probably going Wilson there, but it would be fun to have Herbert. I
Twitch,
think.
tell me, Wilson, Herbert.
Twitch, pick quick. Oh, we
Twitch,
could have done
Wilson, Herbert.
We definitely could have done a
Come on,
poll or
Twitch.
something, but it would
we don't
not.
have
It would
that
take
time.
too. It would take too long.
That's Wallaby says Herbert.
I
Take him.
can read enough comments. So yeah, 30 seconds. Twitch, tell me. Right now, Herbert leads. This is Twitch's pick.
Russ feels safer, and also He might have a.
But like,
This is Twitch. I don't even get to make this pick. This is out of my hands.
You got two
what if
votes
he gets
for Herbert.
traded?
It
What if
is-
he gets traded to the Bears?
All
Also, everybody on Twitch says
10
Herbert.
seconds. Twitch.
Everybody
Herbert or
says
Wilson.
Unanimous on Herbert right
Everybody
now.
says
3-0.
Matthew Berry says take a pick.
Twitch says Herbert.
Herbert. I say Herbert.
Herbert.
All right. Wow.
Now I can blame Twitch if this all goes.
All
poorly.
right, Rudy. Your team name can be. Hold on.
I hate this team so much.
Justin Sherbert and Ice Cream Shop. So if
Well,
you got
Brock, you're a little late, okay?
Brock says Russ, and that would have been my vote, but that's okay. Twitch made a pick. So you've got Cheeto dust on your fingers, okay? You have gotten to the end of, let's say, a snack-sized bag, or you're just done with whatever your portion is. What is your next move?
I'm done with the Cheetos.
You're done eating Cheetos. You're done with your meal. What you've eaten Cheetos are good with a good sandwich.
Yeah.
You're done with your sandwich. You're done with your Cheetos. What do?
Look at my fingers.
Yep.
Here's,
Both
the,
of you?
Yeah.
here's the thing. My Cheetos are the jalapeno Cheetos. I need that good jalapeno taste.
I
Give
might
me-
gag.
Give me that jalapeno taste
I'm gonna gag.
in my mouth.
You guys touch so many surfaces here. Let me ask you this
I'm
question.
touching
I
the
mean,
Cheetos as I put them in my mouth
I'm
anyway.
not touching all this stuff and then touching shit. Like I'm at home. My hands are clean. I'm in my bubble.
But then you've got licked Cheeto fingers.
And then I go
and
wash
then I go
them.
wash them.
I mean, that is better than the alternative, I guess,
Yeah,
of
like,
just
there's-
like
there-
considering
there's-
them
I mean, listen,
clean.
There's washing involved.
I mean, listen, you lick the Cheeto dust off your finger. You're not getting it all.
No.
That stuff is like
Your finger's
super
still
glue.
orange.
Yeah.
Your finger
I
is
lick what I
still
can.
orange.
And then I go wash off the rest.
Yep.
Why
Waldy
don't
says,
just get a bag of Cheeto powder and just stick your hands in it and then just lick your hands
That's
like a
not the
wild
point.
bear?
That's not the point.
Did you not get enough Cheeto dust on the actual crunchy, delicious Cheetos?
It's just
I'm
getting
supposed
the
to wash
last
off the
little
excess?
taste.
Not off the Cheetos, but you don't eat your fingers. You wouldn't lick a Cheeto. You
What?
wouldn't download a car.
Waldy asked if he has any sandwich left, because if so, he'd wipe it off on the bread.
I don't know. I don't know about that one, Chief. It gets under your fingernails and stuff, and you got germs under your fingernails.
Those germs are already on me. They're already inside of me.
So are the Cheetos and all the Cheeto dust. You don't need more of the Cheeto. Just eat the Cheeto. All right, follow-up question. All right, so you got a bag, right?
Yeah.
You're putting your hand in the bag.
Uh-huh.
How many and which fingers are grabbing Cheeto?
I think I'm usually like a 3 fingers. Thumb, pointer, middle.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Feels right.
Getting a couple, not like, I'm not trying to
Like,
grab
I'm not-
a handful.
yeah, I'm not doing
here and
handful.
Shove them in my mouth. I'm getting a couple, and then I'm munching on those.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back for more.
I'd like you to mark some of that for future usage, because I think out of context, that's going to be real upsetting for at least Rudy. Okay, I really zoned out because I was trying not to laugh over what I thought was going to be pretty good audio. Oh. It's 8. We have a massive announcement.
I know, we
have the biggest
we are
announcement
blowing through this.
that we have at least made since we
I mean, if you
went
want,
from ESPN
I
Kansas
got
City over
2
here.
quick picks. If you want to take a break after that, we
We definitely should.
Okay, so there's a lot of good wide receivers in the NFL.
See, it's
man.
always that's how it always
There's
works.
a lot right now. Top of the board,
You should have taken Kittle.
Devontae Smith, Debo Samuel, DJ Shark,
I like
Michael
Debo.
Thomas.
Sorry, who's the third one?
DJ Shark.
Dude.
DJ Shark. Mike Williams, Sony Michelle,
was
Jalen
cursed.
Waddle, Kenyon Drake, AJ Dillon. You know what I do? I don't know.
I like. What was one of the first couple of receivers? I like Debo. I like Debo and
no tight end has been drafted. So.
Oh, jeez,
you like Debo?
Matthew Berry.
You like Debo,
I like
Josh?
Debo. I've ended up with Debo in a couple
Debo
places.
Samuel, baby.
Feels like he could have a real high ceiling. I like taking some of those younger
Yeah.
and less proven receivers late. You got to take a tight end at some point, right?
I do. This feels like at the tight end.
What's your group?
So I'm looking at Jonnu Smith, Dallas Goedert, Robert Tonyan, and Mike Gesicki. So I heard a lot of people say actually that Mike Gesicki is like the good value pick here.
Oh, I kind of like
And
Jonnu Smith a little
and
bit.
that intrigues me a little bit.
You've really
The problem, I was about to
buried
say
the
the problem
lead on
with
this show
Jonnu
today.
Smith is the fact that like
Matthew Berry.
I can't trust Cam Newton throw the football because Cam Newton's throwing the football.
This might be the record for most I have. Shout out to Jordan Foote, who has tweeted about how he is just hanging on the edge of his seat, waiting for this announcement.
Gonna go with.
He did catch on to something. Jordan, did you see Jordan's
Yes, I did.
tweets?
Gonna go with. It's time to get Gesicki. I wish I could remember who I heard say that, but I've just been like, Mike Gesicki's like the one fantasy guy going to this draft that's been stuck in my head.
The way you
Because I heard
guys-
one person say he's a value pick.
The way you guys eat Cheeto dust makes me just sicky.
Put it on the poll.
OU SASS. We buried the lead on the show today. Story of AES though.
That's true, but it's
Very true.
honestly even more true today in a way that not only is going to be like
When we come back, who will I draft in the 11th
You're-
round?
the people who are like, oh, this is funny, they buried the lead of this announcement. Like, you're going to be mad at me for doing it whenever we actually say what it is. So, whenever we come back here on Almost Entirely Sports, we will make a legitimately earth-shattering show announcement about who Rudy will take with his next picks in his fantasy draft. And then also something that will change the course of this show for the rest of its almost entirely life. After the break.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
And today felt like a good time to kind of throw a big question at him. And so I asked Coach, Coach, I don't know why I called him Coach just then. I might have said Coach. I might call him Coach. I don't really call him Coach casually.
He is Coach. Like once you've been a coach, you're always Coach.
That's true.
Yeah, like you're just always Coach. People always refer to you as Coach.
I asked.
Josh also called his high school coach's dad, though.
With Joshua Brisco.
It's a joke about me being homeschooled, and it's a pretty good joke. The difference is after I graduated, I also moved out of my parents' house, which isn't currently true for not homeschooled, but home living Beards. Rudy is crumpled into a heap in the corner.
That's so good.
Because Beards and I just exchanged body blows.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Whenever they do the behind the music of this show,
boy.
that liner is going to need an entire segment.
Oh boy.
Rudy, did you make more picks during the break? For
Yeah,
fantasy
so
draft?
the 11th round, I drafted
What if we didn't
AJ.
even announce it today?
AJ
What if we just waited
Oh,
until tomorrow?
It would be so us. I drafted AJ Dillon,
Sure.
running back,
Oh,
Green Bay.
All right, get your other one.
Back on the clock, Wallaby. Good news. You wanted me to draft Robert Tonyan. Well, guess who's still available? Robert Tonyan.
There you go. It's happening.
You're now. I now have 3 Packers players.
Hold on. What's that?
It's more Game of Thrones stuff.
Oh, what's that music?
Oh, that's not this one.
Is that not this one?
No, it's not this
I made a
I know, you
But
did,
was-
but I was
Thin
I
Ice, Beards!
I was not using that one for Rudy's fantasy.
No, it's the one that I want for I think it. Oh, yeah.
You happy now?
No.
I'm a little happy.
You hear this
I
music?
take it back. I hate this draft.
You guys know this?
My team's garbage.
You guys know this?
I blame Twitch.
Music.
I just want to draft Ben Roethlisberger. So I can call my team name.
We're making the
BBQ
announcement.
Player.
Nope.
You know, the TB12 diet.
Yes.
BBQ diet.
Can we make this announcement?
Yeah.
If Matthew Barry interrupts me, I'm
Or-
trying to make
no,
this
you got time. You got
announcement,
plenty of time. 13
I'm going
picks.
to
so
lose my mind.
You got time.
Here's the announcement. This music is fitting. Because if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you understand that this is not the music that precedes a positive celebratory event. This is the bad one. This is the bad music. And so here it is.
Oh, look at that. It's time to go to break.
This is also, at this point, I want everyone to know. Are you up to the draft again, Rudy?
No. I got
Okay.
a while. 12 picks.
This part here is not a bit. This next thing I'm about to say is actually true. Tomorrow,
I wish Matthew Bear would chime in board.
I was
close.
hoping, man.
Beards McFly will eat a vegetable. Nope, that was not true.
Maybe make a couple more of those jokes 9 picks away.
I'm almost out of music, so hurry up.
Tomorrow will be the last Almost Entirely Sports with Beards McFly.
Oh, look, the music ended. Perfect timing.
I did
I was
bring a
not
party
expecting the
popper
party
that I
popper.
hid all the way until that announcement.
Did not see that
I
coming.
did go get it during a commercial break because it felt right. It is not a bit, though.
Not a
That is
bit.
not a joke. It is not because he's not producing it, because he's hosting it, which would be, that would be bad. That would be even worse than the Red Wedding. No one wants that. But tomorrow will be the last AES produced by the one and only Beards McFly. Obviously, he and I have been doing this show since the ESPN Kansas City days. We'll go through memory lane, whatever. Beards, I expect some old liners.
I'll find some.
I expect some stinky liners.
Oh, there's some of those too.
I expect some bad content. And
I mean, that's just us
that's-
every day.
And I
Yeah.
expect a 24-second shot clock preview of the upcoming NBA season. I have a plan for something that I would like to do that Rudy knows and that Beards does not. But
Should be afraid.
I was going to say, can we say why Beards is leaving the show? And then I thought maybe we shouldn't. And then I thought, I really don't care if we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So we will. So starting next week, Beards will be producing The Zone middays here on Sports Radio 810 from 10 to 2. So Beards is moving up the ladder and also kind of just earlier in the day on the ladder clock, which is probably good for him.
JT jumped the gun on the congratulations to Beards on getting a real job. He still does not have a
Nope.
real job.
Nope.
Just a fake job on a different show.
It's just a fake job with the sun still being up.
Yeah.
And
to get
so
up early?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna be really
Yeah.
interesting. The most embarrassing, I mean, for me, the worst part is that I agreed to box Jason Anderson, and I said the winner gets Beards, and he beat me. And that, no, I didn't see that coming, so that was embarrassing. And if you're wondering, okay, well, that is jarring and upsetting. What are we gonna do next? I would say, great question. The same boat, right there with you, my friend. Not totally sure.
Still figuring it out.
Still a lot of balls in the air. Still a lot of things that we don't know. But Beards, congratulations on
Thank you.
going to still fake job just when the sun is up. I do think there's a chance this backfires because it means you spend more time with your wife, who has way more chances to get sick of you.
To actually know you,
Yeah, and so if that,
it's a dangerous game.
I mean, and look, I mean, we got tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll figure out what tomorrow's show will be, per usual. But it is sort of like the mob. Like, if you come crawling back or whatever, we'll break your kneecaps, and we will turn you away. So your bet has been made. Beards' exit is planned, and tomorrow will be the last Almost Entirely Sports with Beards McFly. We don't have shows the rest of the week. So we got Thursday Night Football on Thursday, and then KU football on Friday.
Yeah.
So, so these are the last two. This week is the last two shows with Beards.
4 more hours and 15 minutes.
Could I fire him today, and then Rudy, you could run it tomorrow, right?
I mean,
That'd
do
be
you
pretty-
have that power?
I don't know. I mean,
I
I feel-
hiring and firing power?
here's the real thing: is power is a funny question. What I do think is true is if I said, Beards, you can be here and clock in or whatever, and then just sit in the office, and then we'll just do the show without. Oh, we got to go to Rudy's. I feel like you would accept that, Beards. I feel like you would accept those terms. You would just not have to work.
I know who I'm drafting.
What's the board right now?
Top of the board,
Yeah. Is there a producer on there?
Nyheim Hines.
Wow, I love that pick.
Nyheim Hines in
Can
the
you-
13th round feels strong.
Yeah.
He's not. Here's the thing: is he going to be in every week 10 points or something? No. But Nyheim Hines, 3 times a year, going to have 3 touchdown catches because that's just what Nyheim Hines does. It's also the 13th round. There's not a lot else. But I like Nyheim Hines. He can also do a backflip. Come
Is
on
that extra
down.
points?
Maybe.
Is this a backflip league?
Oh, bad news, guys. I really want to draft Ben Roethlisberger. I really do. He's the same bye week as Justin Herbert.
What are you gonna do?
Good question.
There's some pretty funny. Do you want me to stall for a second?
Kirk Herbert Street.
What?
There's the team name.
So the person who is on auto is jumped in round 12. So better late than never, I guess. So it's no
Okay,
longer
great.
the quick back-to-back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so let me read. There's just some very, very funny things on the Twitch chat that I
My
wanted to
next
highlight.
pick will be a kicker, though.
There's something that I wanted to highlight in the Twitch chat here that's pretty funny. What about
You
a
would
sleep?
take Le'Veon Bell over Knight. Are you insane?
He's in the practice squad. Did someone do that?
Wallaby says
Oh.
I'd take Lev Bell over Hines.
Yeah, so I'm going to read some funny things from the chat. So I'd take Le'Veon Bell over Hines. Is pretty funny. What about a sleep schedule? Congratulations to Beards on getting a real job. I love the zone. I got just a lot of funny, fun jokes
Good job.
being told in the Twitch
Yeah.
chat. Oh, go ahead.
So now the question is, kickers.
I mean,
though,
take him anyway.
I
Take
need a kicker.
Roethlisberger anyway.
I need a kicker. Young
Even if,
Hoku is there.
hey, Rudy,
but
even
I'm a
if
big Daniel Carlson guy.
don't take a kicker yet.
It's round 14.
Don't take a kicker yet. You can take
Why?
any kicker later.
But
I agree with Beards. Take Ben Roethlisberger. And even if Ben Roethlisberger's like, no, man, please don't draft me, you do it. Even if he's like, no, I don't want to be drafted, you draft Ben Roethlisberger.
He would
Just
want that.
that's what he would want.
Ben Roethlisberger, you've been drafted. So the BBQ plan diet. It's a lifestyle. We need to come up with a good name for Big Ben's diet. BBQ method? Like, that feels right. But what's the Q stand for? The Big Ben.
I've got teeth marks on my thumb because I was biting it so hard instead of saying anything that I wanted to say there.
Say it. Say it.
No,
say
it's fine.
Say it.
No, I'm good.
Say it.
That's all right.
Now for defense, we draft whoever's playing the Texans week.
Beards
one.
can Beards
And we
can
just
say
cut
it.
that
What
team.
are they gonna do?
We
Fire 'em?
draft- we just stick with whoever's playing the Texans week by week.
The Big Ben quality diet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
It's the BBQ method.
Don't tell me to break, Beards. You barely even work here anymore.
At JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Thank you, Beards McFly, for your efforts today. I can't say your input, but your effort was good.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Really hurtful comment from the Twitch. Beards, just know that most of us are listening to you a lot more now. From JT.
Unnecessary.
Really unnecessary.
You have been
Uncalled
holding me back.
I've often believed that.
There's actually a chance Beards will talk less.
I was going to answer some really pressing questions on the Twitch chat.
Daniel Carlson. The Raiders are going to be great at getting into field goal range, but Derek Carr can't score touchdowns.
I love that. That's a great pick. I love the logic. So a question both from JT, who has the copyright to Sad fans, and then from Aspen. Okay, so very serious question. Will Sad fans move to the zone, or do I have to mourn the loss of that too? Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I mean, if you're a regular listener to this show, you understand that whenever someone is dead to the show,
they're dead.
They're in the great beyond, but they are. Yeah, I mean, we lost Charlie to the bubonic plague. Kent simply ascended and then did come back, which was pretty big.
White Walker syndrome.
I don't know what Beards' death is going to be. If we're able to get a Ouija board. If we're able, he turned off his mic when you said that.
The fan was too loud. I didn't hear what you said.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. He said eating too many vegetables. Stupid. If we can get a Ouija board put together and communicate with Beards' spirit, I think there's a chance that perhaps he's able to posthumously send Sad fans back to us. Quick, make a pick!
And with the last pick in this draft, I'm taking the Packers defensive special teams.
Seth Keysor is next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Dreaming of a Sports Center.
I'm Jim Basketball. The Toronto Blue Jays are making their move on the New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox in the wild card hunt in the American League. Jays in search of their 9th win in 10 games up in the Bronx, 5-1. Marcus Semien has gone deep for the 4th time in the last 3 games, his 38th of the year. Alejandro Kirk has 2 long balls. It's a 5-1 game in which Garrett Cole left in the 4th with a left hamstring injury for New York. The Yankees riding 7 losses in their last 9. Meantime, the Rays have a 12-5 lead, 9th inning at Fenway Park. Nelson Cruz, 2 home runs, 4 knocked in that one. Of note, Wander Franco has reached base for the 37th straight game with a walk. Brewers, meantime, Eric Lauer spinning a 2-hitter up on the Phillies in the 6th at 6-0. And the Nationals have drawn even with the Braves at 5. Yadiel Hernandez, a 3-run home run. 8th inning in Miami. Mets up on the Marlins 7-4. Mets president Sandy Alderson saying Jacob deGrom's injury, a partial UCL tear of his right elbow, which is no longer an issue. No word if he'll pitch again this season. Albert Pujols, career home run number 679. Dodgers up at the Cards in the 7th, 5-2. They came into play. Game back of the Giants, who were up in Colorado 5-0 in the 4th. San Francisco, Major League best 88-50 record. Meantime, Georgia has moved up 3 spots to number 2 behind Alabama in the AP Top 25. The SEC has the top 2 teams in the country for the 30th time in poll history. And a day after 30-19, Leylah Fernandez reaches the semis of the U.S. Open.
It's Greeny, and Wednesday will be 1 day away from the start of the NFL season. Got to get you ready for any late fantasy drafts, for any gambling decisions you need to make, and, of course, for the Cowboys and Buccaneers kicking it off. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
Now it is time for very serious football talk with the man who hates money almost as much as he hates the idea of a healthy sleep schedule.
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
The man who has so many children, his wife figured he wouldn't even notice if she bought a few chickens and ducks for the backyard.
We should have an episode where we just have my children appear on the show in ascending order. So we'll do like a minute of Lucas, then 2 minutes of Isabel, then 3 minutes of Man, I have a lot of kids.
The man who does all of this while being a lawyer in a state that has snow all 12 months of the year.
Until it freezes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I actually felt very at home driving through southern Iowa. It was snow everywhere, and people were slowing down to like 40. It was adorable. I was driving slowly, but I literally was hanging my head out the window screaming, and that was disconcerting.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times Hours podcast on Almost Entirely Sports.
Not only is it another Seth Keysor Tuesday, already a reason to smile, it is, even more importantly, Seth Keysor Tuesday, leading up to a regular season Sunday with Kansas City Chiefs football. Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Hours podcast, on Twitter, at RealMNChiefsFan, mnchiefsfan.substack.com for the newsletter. Seth, it is game week, not preseason game week, not training camp week, not draft week. We have made it another full cycle around the sun. Regular season football just days away. How are you feeling right now, my friend?
I feel tremendous. Life is good, man. Football is almost here. All the build-up, everything, it's almost complete. I do still have 2 more articles I want to write before we get to football, but I'm not sure I'm going to get there, but we're going to try. And it's so much fun. This time next week, maybe, I will be looking at film and learning what I can learn, and it's just going to be, it's awesome. I'm very, very excited.
I also, I was having this conversation with our good friend Matt Derrick yesterday as I was filling in on the zone, and I kind of ended up coming to the conclusion that I feel like this game against the Browns is almost a perfect matchup, almost a perfect team to open the season with, because if this was, if this was Philadelphia or Washington or even like the Raiders or Broncos or something, there would be sort of an expectation of, Chiefs got this. We're kind of wrapping up preseason game number 4 a little bit. But if this was the Ravens game, which is coming up next week, obviously, or the Bills just around the corner, well, that was a fun noise. Are you okay, Seth? Did you just fall down a dark hole in the ground?
I did not. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. It was loud enough that I was worried about your health. But if this was one of the super prime time, super premium games, then there's like a little fear that maybe the Chiefs start 0-1. The Browns for me are a sweet spot because the Chiefs are better than them, but they gave the Chiefs a little bit of a scare in the playoffs last year. They've got really good players to test the 2 new tackles. They've got good pass catchers to test the secondary. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. So as we've gotten closer to the game, I'm continually kind of just getting more excited about this particular matchup. How are you feeling about it?
I feel good about it. I do like the way that you framed that in terms of, like, if the Chiefs lose, people aren't going to, like, completely lose their minds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might still. I mean, let's be honest. This isn't like, the human nature isn't going to change,
right?
Or the way that football gets covered or consumed. But it does create a bit of a difference in terms of what people's expectations are and all that kind of stuff if they do lose. So there's a little less pressure there. And it is an opportunity to make a statement right out of the gate, which is nice, which they've done pretty much every year of the Mahomes era.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth noting, so in 2018, its week 1 is against the Chargers. And the Chargers, as ever, gave them a pretty good game. And Mahomes made some unbelievable throws. And they kind of, squashed what could have been a comeback attempt. It was cool. Then 2019, for the first quarter, they just went scorched earth on the Jags and frightened everyone. And then last year, no one knew that the Texans were going to be such a disaster last year.
Right.
But they kind of just casually batted around the Texans for an entire game in a way that was like, we're really not even trying that hard, so we're going to give our rookie running back a bunch of yards and have people tweet mean things to Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm sure that was their intent, honestly.
Gotta be,
yeah. And so that's they've had an opportunity to do that. This year, because the Browns are getting so much hype, it's really an opportunity to make a strong statement out of the gate and for the rebuilt offensive line to make a strong statement for the defense. It's just, there's a lot of opportunities here, and they have a chance to really freak everyone out, and I'm excited for that.
I am too, because again, there's also a proper amount of resistance there, right? Again, it's different than just one of those teams you expect them to roll over, I don't want to push you in a given direction. I've got a good at least 1 or 2 prime storylines that I'm keeping an eye out for, and we will talk about your story about Patrick Mahomes in the newsletter today. We're going to get to that because I would like for people to go read that story. But in terms of those storylines that we have been absolutely, just chugging through ad nauseum this offseason, which one or ones are you most intrigued to see how they'll pan out in this first game? What do you think we're going to really be able to actually learn a little bit?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the offensive line, which is a boring answer, but it's a boring answer because it's the correct answer.
That's right? Also, that's where I didn't want to force you to go, but I also think it's the right answer.
I mean, there's tons of other things to look out for. Obviously, you want to see how the rookies are going to do, like Nick Bolton, because he's going to get extra playing time with Willie Gay being gone. What is Juan Thornhill's snap going to actually look like? Does the cornerback group look as strong as it looked during the preseason? Hint, hint. I might be writing about that for The Athletic later this week. Hint, hint.
Ooh.
There's some cool things. One thing I'm going to write about is how important, and it's assuredly going to start a narrative that I really don't want to do, but how well that the cornerback group tackles and provides support on the perimeter in the modern NFL is a lot more important than it was a few years ago. A lot of stuff is designed to make corners tackle, and they've done a good job of it. But that's L'Jarius Sneed might actually be a superstar. We'll see. But anyway, these are all important things, right? Cole Hardman, next step. It's an important thing. Hey, 4 tight ends. That's weird. That's an important thing. But the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. They just are, right? Mm-hmm. The offensive line, barring being a complete and total travesty, and even if it were, they're still Super Bowl contenders, just not as strong. That's what we're going to learn. Now, injuries, that's going to be the key thing, just like it is for every other team every other year. Here's what we'll know a little better after week 1. Are the Chiefs Super Bowl contenders in the sense like, holy crap, maybe Tampa Bay on its best day? Or are they Super Bowl contenders in the, if Mahomes is who he is all throughout playoffs and the defense shows up, yeah, they're a decent, okay Super Bowl contender. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, leaving out injuries. That's really the swing for the Chiefs, which is hilarious, but also true. And we know that based on the offensive line. That's what we're going to learn. Because the Browns have a good group of players on the defensive line. They've got a decent pass rush. Can they rattle Mahomes? We'll see. And that's going to be the biggest thing right there. And also, do we see some of those changes schematically that we're thinking we might? My hope is that they don't become too in love. Let's say they discover, hey, we really can run the ball pretty effectively now. Mm-hmm. The one area that could yield diminishing returns would be if they run the ball too much when they shouldn't.
Right.
Or do they really maximize? Is it really what you and I have been hoping to see, where it's like, no, we still just, are scorched earth, Drogon burning down the loot train against everything when throwing the ball. But now also, the minute you back off, we're going to run the ball for 8 yards. And then if you stay back up the next snap, we're going to run the ball for 8 yards again. Right. And then you're finally going to switch out of that look, and you're going to go back to a single high look. Then we're going to throw the ball for 20 yards. That would be really cool to see. So that's it. All starts and stops there with the offensive line.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing where, I don't know if you ever went back and charted Creed Humphrey's third preseason game, but no losses throughout the first 2 and looked good by my eye in the third without going back through the fine-tooth comb or anything. But, the offensive line looked good in the preseason, the first teamers especially. But even in the times they were going up against the other team's presumed ones, oftentimes that wasn't really their ones, right? You did not see Nick Bosa or Dee Ford or whatever against the Niners. That ended up sort of being the theme throughout the preseason. So we're going to have an actual yardstick or whatever to measure the Chiefs' line against the Browns in particular, because you get Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Like, you get Orlando Brown going up against a super physical, speedy edge rusher, and Lucas Niang getting his first meaningful NFL snaps at that level. Like, we're going to have a pretty good idea about those 2 tackles, I think. That might be the one position that I'm ready to overreact to a little bit, either positively or negatively, just because I do think this is going to be such a good barometer.
Absolutely. And the addition of Clowney is interesting. There's a lot of optimism about the Browns, in part because of that addition. He's a guy I would have been interested in the Chiefs at least looking at, especially considering that it's not like anyone had to break the bank to get him. Mm-hmm. He's been a good football player throughout his career, and he occasionally produces some highlights, but he also vanishes for extended periods of time too. Mm-hmm. So he's gotten treated a little bit more like had they, added, Khalil Mack or something like that.
Right.
But it should make a difference in terms of one thing that really hurt them last year against the Chiefs, especially when Mahomes was still in the game. Because the divisional round, I will go to my grave telling people, and I believe the way I termed it last time, is they were about to boat race the Browns when Mahomes got hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, it was about to get real ugly, and everyone watching the game knew it. Like, the Chiefs had only not scored on a couple drives, like touchdowns, because of some fluky stuff, and they were moving the ball at will, and then they just kind of held on with Chad Henne, which, hey, good for him. That was awesome. Yeah. But the big problem for the Browns is similar to the one that the Bills had, and the Bills have really tried to rebuild. Everyone saw the Super Bowl, and obviously you can't count on the Chiefs having, this decimated front, but everyone has seen now, if you want to have a shot, you've got to get pressure on Mahomes with 4. Mm-hmm. You've got to. And last year, the Browns weren't really able to do it too much. Myles Garrett is obviously a stud, but he's just one guy. No matter how good one guy is, you need more guys there to get stuff done. The only exception to that rule is occasionally Aaron Donald, who is maybe one of the greatest defensive players the world has ever seen. And even and so that's where you're going to see, like you said, with the tackles, they've got to be able to figure something out. The Browns need to be able to get pressure with 4. And if they can't do it, despite the addition of Jadeveon Clowney, because that's the idea, add extra guys who can rush the passer, that will tell Chiefs fans something good about the team. Now, it's not like you're facing, the Bucs or one of the top-tier pass-rushing teams, but it'll tell you a team that's got a pretty decent defense who rushes the passer pretty well. If they can't consistently get pressure, that's going to let the league know they're probably in for some problems this year.
This is kind of a redundant question. Like, I know that we've talked about this a ton, but if I made you put a, very non-monetary but also non-electrical wager on this, so neither physical harm nor any sort of moral compromising needed here, who would you bet on being the Chiefs' tertiary or maybe their 4th offensive weapon in this game, or at least, let's say 3rd pass catcher, knowing that we've gone through everything we've gone through narrative-wise this offseason?
Against the Browns?
Yeah,
just the entirety of the season?
Just week 1 we get out there and, Andy Reid's been sitting on some stuff all offseason. They always have something in week 1, and one of those guys ends up being the 3rd pass catcher just for week 1.
I think it'll be Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he's healthy, and Jerick McKinnon if Edwards-Helaire is not healthy. I think all the work they've been doing in the screen game is intentional, and I think week 1 is a great week to show the stuff you've done because, it's some change-up stuff. They didn't go to the screen game as much last year, in part because the line just wasn't very good at it. They look really good at it this year. Again, small sample size. We'll see. But like Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Joe Thuney look unbelievably comfortable in the screen game. And I think week 1, it's great to put that on film, 5 or 6 screens and that type of play just to really give pass rushes something to think about.
Yeah.
Because that's one way to help Mahomes and to help an offensive line that is going to need time to gel, one would assume. Best case scenario, obviously they're great out of the gate, but best case scenarios rarely happen in football, and Chiefs fans already got Mahomes this century, so I don't know how much we can expect that to happen again. So that's something I think it's what I would do if I were them. I would lean on the running back. The running back took a bit of a back seat in the passing game at times last year, despite Edwards-Helaire's skill set. So I think it would be a good time to put some extra stuff on film, give the Browns some stuff maybe they're not completely prepared for, and really help you kind of set the stage. I always think of how Andy Reid does his seasons. It just seems like the whole season is kind of a building block towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that would be a really good foundation to lay.
There we go. That's a good, unique answer to a question that's been asked 9,000 times. I was hoping that we might get lucky there. And, best case scenarios, they do happen occasionally. It just means talking to Seth on a Tuesday. Let's flip sides real quick because you mentioned earlier that Nick Bolton's going to get more work with Willie Gay being out. He's out for at least 3 weeks. Toe injuries are weird, so after 3 is when he could return from the IR with a designated to return tag. What are you? I mean, we've talked about him a number of times this offseason, and I was excited to see him, especially. Kareem Hunt is an incredibly comfortable pass catcher out of the backfield. Nick Chubb isn't like a scrub at it by any means, but it's just something that we saw Hunt do at an incredibly high level in Kansas City.
Right.
I am worried about the Chiefs being able to cover running backs without Willie Gay, and we've talked about that plenty of times over the last couple of years, but either specifically or more generally, if you want, what are the Chiefs missing without having Willie Gay out there? And also, how bummed are you? Because I'm bummed. This makes me sad. There are not a whole lot of defensive players I was more excited to see make their debut this year than Willie Gay.
Right. And so I agree in terms of the sadness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the maybe bit of cheeriness as to why that sadness might not be correct, and then why it makes me sad.
Okay.
I felt like that was a very professional introduction to my answer.
I am emotionally prepared for this.
So the first thing I would say is because we were all so excited to watch Willie Gay, he had such a great camp and he flashed so much in camp, I think this injury hits a little harder than its positional impact really provides.
Yeah.
They definitely are going to miss him, but it's good that they have Bolton in town now. And the reality is Anthony Hitchens was always going to be the most important linebacker on the team.
Right.
That was never going to change. And if Hitchens continues to play as well as he did in the preseason, and he played really well, that's something that kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah, you're right.
Hitchens does look a little faster. Certainly not like Willie Gay. But he looks a little faster, and he played really well. If he continues to do that, the overall importance of losing Bolton, it lowers the ceiling for the defense to an extent and limits them schematically a little bit, but not in ways they haven't been limited previously. You know, you can account for your defense not being great at covering running backs one-on-one with a linebacker. And they've had to account for that for multiple years in a row now, right? And if it comes down to it, they can send a safety in there. They can do some things in terms of those. If we just need to have those man coverage looks with the running back, they can do some stuff. So I do think that our sadness has maybe raised the importance of it past what it really is.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
On the other hand, if you're going to be missing a Willie Gay Jr., it would be against a team like the Browns, where they've got a couple home run hitters at running back, and also guys who run very physical. And Willie Gay Jr. is a really physical linebacker. Now that's where Nick Bolton at the line of scrimmage, I think he plays pretty darn physical. So I think that'll be fine. But some of those home run threats, I don't want Bolton in a foot race with Chubb or Hunt once they get ahead of steam. Because those guys have run away from plenty of linebackers once they get a little space. In the coverage aspect, Bolton doesn't look ready there. And so that is a bummer because it does limit you schematically, and it gives them something to pick at. And that's the whole point of bringing along Willie Gay and ideally bringing along Nick Bolton eventually is you get rid of that thing that teams have been picking at a little bit here and there for years. So it's definitely concerning. I just don't think it's going to be quite as impactful as people are worried about just because we're all so bummed that we saw a guy that we think might have been on the cusp of really breaking out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all totally fair, and it just, again, to that last point, it's just fun to be able to say, boy, I really think that this guy's breakout party, his career year, whatever, him going to the big stage, I feel like that's coming here. And now it's delayed on some level. This one might be irrelevant as a question in a couple of days, and it seems like the arrow's pointing in the right direction. But how much does some of that stuff get compounded, and then also just simply on its own? How big of a deal would it be to have an either absent or limited Tyrann Mathieu?
That's a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
He plays a much larger role in the defense. And he allows them to be really varied in the looks that they show and who gets to do what. You can move guys all over the place because Tyrann Mathieu can move all over the place. I do think it's a little, now that they have a slot defender that they're comfortable being an excellent slot defender in L'Jarius Sneed, I don't think it's as impactful as it would have been last year because that was one of the things that he did that really no one on the team did very well.
Yeah.
You'd get average at best. Fenton can do it, but it's not really where he's comfortable, especially in man coverage. And so I think that's just at least an interesting thing. Now, not that you would have L'Jarius Sneed play Matthew's role because he's not a safety, but at least in terms of that slot guy, you might just be a little more limited in the looks you can show because it's almost always going to be Sneed now instead of flipping guys around and moving them wherever you want to move them, right? And so that matters. And then there's just the fact that he's a really, really good player. And you don't want to lose really, really good players against teams that can play. And the Browns have a lot of really talented pieces on offense. They've got a really good offensive line. And so that's a problem if he can't go. I just don't believe enough in Baker Mayfield at this point to be terrified by it. I think I'd be more terrified by Chris Jones not being able to go, but a lot's going to depend on what happens up front. If the Chiefs pass rush can make something happen, which, by the way, this is a huge game for them because the Browns are widely viewed as having maybe the best offensive line in the league. And so if the Chiefs can get some pressure on them, that would be a huge, huge, huge step forward from what we saw last year. So that's a much bigger deal than Willie Gay Jr. I still don't think it's necessarily fatal for them, though.
I think that's fair, and also, like I was saying, optimistic. I just my concern ends up just being with, as you said, how multiple they can be with Matthew, and then how much already Dan Sorensen's going to play, and then we're getting Dan Sorensen and Juan Thornhill out there. That's an okay duo. But then how much are they going to end up playing Armani Watts? Would we see Devin Key have a practice squad call up? There are so many dominoes that Matthew moves. And I agree. We're on the same page, I think, if we're saying, hey, the most important player for the Chiefs defense, or maybe it's the best player on the Chiefs defense is Chris Jones, and then maybe the most important is Tyrann Mathieu, but it's clearly a 1A, 1B situation among those guys, and then some sort of drop-off. I guess I'm not terribly nervous about the Browns offense. I also I don't want to go into the start of this season with a couple of the guys that I was excited to watch again maybe not be out there, with Gay definitely not being there and Matthew kind of being up in the air, and I don't know how much they're going to play Juan Thornhill, and also no one This is a tangent that I'm curious if you think is earned or if I'm overreacting or whatever. But holy bleep, it did not take us very long to stop giving a bleep about Frank Clark. Just I could not. I don't feel like I've heard his name come up yet, just anywhere, because his offseason was obviously bad and weird. He was not active in the preseason games. He was dealing with a hamstring throughout training camp. Obviously, last year he was disappointing compared to what the Chiefs are paying him and all of that. And I feel like at this point, he's either going to be a pleasant surprise or just kind of a dude. And it feels like we've seen a larger acceptance of that a whole lot more quickly than I've expected. But maybe I'm paying too close of attention. I don't know.
I think a lot of the Frank Clark angst happened last year, right? And I think that's where there were a lot of arguments about how effectively he was playing and how much it was hurting the team. And for me, it's largely because I don't live in the area. It's largely based off what I see on Twitter or in comment sections, which, let's face it, is hardly demonstrative of the real world.
Sure.
But that's where I saw a lot of fights occurring, was last year as the year moved along, and even a little bit in 2019, right? Because he was playing hurt, and then, he had that great run in the playoffs and all that stuff. And so I think there was so much fighting about that last year. And because it just went the way it went, there was never really a turnaround for him. I think people just kind of stopped fighting about it. And I would agree with you that at this point, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's other people that have different expectations, I think it's pretty rare for a player to see a sizable drop-off in play and then suddenly get that back. And so I think for me, if he is anything more than above average, and when I say above average, I'm running pretty fast and loose with that, I will be pleasantly surprised. And that's not, I don't believe in Frank Clark. It's just we've seen what we've seen recently, and it's rare for players, barring some kind of health stuff being different, to bounce around like that, especially someone who was consistent as he was over the course of his career. Yeah. So we'll see, certainly. But I just didn't, even before the hamstring injury started bugging him, and hamstrings are goofy, they can linger, it's not like we were hearing anything about him blowing up camp.
Right.
I wasn't hearing to him that he was terrible, but it was, and there were some good things being heard, but it wasn't this massive difference from anything we saw last year. So I think really at this point, a lot of fans are in the position where they're thinking, well, you got some sunk costs there. If he can be average, with Jones, with Reed, with some of these young guys kind of stepping up and showing a little more pop in the pass rush, maybe they can still have a really good pass rush if he can just add a little something.
Yeah.
And that lowered expectation, maybe it'll be the best thing that ever happened to him.
That's an interesting. I was with you all the way to the dismount, and you caught me a little bit off guard because I can see that where the expectations change, and so all of a sudden the spotlight's a little bit different. I just think it's interesting. I don't even have a take for it right now. I think I was trying to decide if I had a take, and I really don't. I just think that's a unique a very unique story that we talked about a ton in weird spots, and then as the season's gotten closer, it's really just sort of dissolved into the background. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes.
Everyone's just kind of accepted it. That is weird, right? Normally you'd see a lot more angst. I'm guessing once the real games kick off, if he continues to play at the same level he played last year, it's mostly just going to be a lot of really angry comments about it.
Yeah, because it's not like there's anything that you can do about it. I mean, his contract's just sitting there. And we're assuming that he's not getting suspended at any point this year. Maybe he gets suspended for the beginning of next season, and that helps them move on with even less dead money than previously expected in 2022 or something. But he's going to be here this year, and we are very much, I think, talking about Frank Clark the same amount you would talk about a not quite vet minimum, veteran DE2, but just a role player is how we're talking about him as a player.
It's a little more than we're talking about Alex Okafor.
Yeah, which is, I'm just curious. We don't have a big hurry. I do want to talk about Patrick Mahomes, but I'm just sort of curious what. Let's see. Let's go Control F Okafor here. That's about $850,000 for Alex Okafor. It's just we're talking about him like Alex Okafor while making $25 million more than Alex Okafor this year, which is just, although Alex Okafor does have $2 million in dead cap space, by the way. There's a fun little treat for you. Although so does Breland Speaks has about $600,000 of his own. But Eric Berry finally off the cap. So, some positives. So weird. Going through the Chiefs salary cap page is not the best way to evaluate the team, obviously, but there are some interesting little nuggets if you get bored. You're looking for a thing to do on your Tuesday evening. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, though. Something that the money can never be enough, and the exaggerated praise can never be exaggerated enough. And you have set out to prove that. I love this piece. It's in the Chief of the North newsletter. It is unlocked, correct?
It is unlocked.
If for some reason you don't think that stuff like this is worth $1 a month, which you can get for $12 a year forever, the price does not hike after a year. It's just $12 a year for as long as you got it. You can read this one for free, and then you can subscribe because, good Lord, what are you doing? You wrote about Patrick Mahomes, and this is one where I will recommend as much as ever. You got to look at the charts. This is very much a story that is stitched together by the absolutely illogical, eyeball-straining charts, where Patrick Mahomes, in every instance, is in the top right corner alone by himself in a way that breaks these graphs. Talk to me about this piece and how fun this had to be to go through and collect this information.
It was a lot of fun. So basically, this started, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, where there was one more chart on Patrick Mahomes. I think it was, how he does on third down or when there's a high probability of passing or something like that. And I just made kind of a flippant comment, like one of these days I'm going to write about all of these charts, because that's something that's been somewhat of a joke, is that with Patrick Mahomes, there's just constantly, anytime you see a chart that measures quarterback play in a real way, like expected points added per play or wins or, whatever, any kind of quantifiable way, whether it's a good quantifiable way or a bad quantifiable way, Mahomes very often is just completely by himself in those charts. And it's kind of funny, like the frequency with which it happens. And it's become so normal that it gets kind of taken for granted. The quarterback who leads the league in most touchdowns after, 40, after 2 games is Mahomes. Then after 3 games is Mahomes. And 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to his current number of games. And I just thought, man, I feel like I have retweeted more charts where Mahomes and the Chiefs are just completely on their own. And wouldn't it be funny if someone just put a bunch of those in one place? And so I did. And it was just as much fun as you'd imagine.
Which one of these is your favorite? Or let me tell you my favorite here, and then you'll see if you've got another one. But here's a nugget that you can get. I'm just going to read directly from the story, looking at EPA per play, and this is strictly
on third down plays. You've got the chart about the last 20 years of quarterback efficiency, and then it goes into CPOE is kind of confusing. It's not really confusing. It's just kind of it's a mixed bag, I guess, right? As a measuring stick. Here's the sentence that I like very much. Well, when we consider we're talking about over 500 snaps, you're discussing an extra 100 expected points added by Mahomes compared to everyone else on third down alone. On third downs, Mahomes has added a full 100 EPA, expected points added, to the Chiefs compared to, not just like period, but compared to anyone else on this chart over the course of 500 snaps.
Right. And so what that chart you're talking about is quarterback efficiency, and it's all quarterbacks from the years 2000 to 2020. So that includes a ton of, Peyton Manning's prime years, right? Tom Brady's statistical best years, although that man is a vampire. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, all these guys' best years, right? And basically what you're looking at is expected points added, for those who don't know, and it takes forever to explain it. It's just a way of measuring how the team moves the ball on average, and it accounts for situation. And so think of it this way. If it's 3rd and 10, because we're dealing with third downs right now, if it's 3rd and 10 from your 40-yard line, you have a very low chance of scoring on that drive because, you're probably going to have to punt. It's a really tough down. If you convert that with a 15-yard gain, and now it's 1st and 10 on your opponent's 45-yard line, you're much more likely to score. You've added expected points. You're more expected to score. So that's one of the better gauges of how an offense and a quarterback perform. And so with Mahomes, he added, so if you add, 0.2 more EPA per play, that doesn't sound like much, but over the course of 500 plays, then it starts to really matter. That's where you get to that number. And that's one of my favorite ones, too, where you see how being a quarterback that adds so much more, and it lets you see just how big a deal it is. Because when you deal with things like, 0.2 and 0.4, it's easy for people to say, well, that's not that big a deal. But with EPA, the difference between 0.2 expected points added per play and 0.4 is massive, or double, one might say. And so that's one of my favorite ones, too. My favorite statistic, so many of these are fun. I think any of the third down ones are a lot of fun. I think my favorite one, there's ones while they're trailing where it's just everyone else gets kind of worse while they're trailing for the most part, and then Mahomes gets exponentially better.
Yeah.
It's just freakish. I think the one that I believe probably best describes Mahomes, if it's really talked about, is the chart that talks about what he does on third downs in terms of depth of target.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite one. In that other quarterbacks, they start throwing short of the sticks at about 3rd and 8. Before that, they throw to the sticks or beyond them. Whereas Patrick Mahomes always throws to the sticks or beyond. Now, not always in the literal always sense, but on average, he always does. So if it's 3rd and 15, he's still throwing it to the sticks. If it's 3rd and 20, he's still throwing to the sticks. Whereas on 3rd and 15, other quarterbacks are throwing it 9 yards. And it's demonstrative of two things. His play style, which, it's what he does to give his team the best shot to win. But when you take that factoid and then think about how good his completion percentage is, how low his interception rate is, and how good his base stats are, despite playing inherently riskier by far than anyone else, I think that sums up him better than a lot of other stats. He plays in a way that literally no one else does because literally no one else can.
And this is going to sound a little bit like shade to a quarterback that I think we've all grown to appreciate and love. But if you were watching the Chiefs while Alex Smith was playing quarterback, the idea of just throw past the sticks is something that is deeply ingrained in you.
And he was not by any means like the worst at that in the world or whatever, but it's something that became almost mimetic with Alex Smith, right? It was like third and 8, he's going to get you a 6. And it's like, well, that doesn't really help. For Patrick Mahomes to be doing that at a level that is continuing until about 3rd and 20 is it's such a perfect snapshot of him and his play style, and also what it is that makes him so tremendously unique and so tremendously special.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. It's a good snapshot into what he does different. And it's only one of them, honestly. These charts,
Sure.
The great thing about a lot of these charts is they're not frivolous statistics.
Mm-hmm.
They're very meaningful things that move very meaningfully towards winning and losing. And you see why, until there was a perfect storm of horrendous events in the Super Bowl, Mahomes had never been part of a game where he lost by more than one score.
Yep.
And all it took was the worst injured offensive line and 2 touchdowns being dropped and 2 other third down conversions being dropped. And also those were 4 of the best throws of the game by any quarterback.
Yeah.
We don't need to delve into it too much, but these statistics help demonstrate, these graphs help demonstrate why that's what it takes for Mahomes to get blown out. It's almost impossible for it to occur, and that's why it took 3 years.
Yeah. And the good news is we're only a few days away from that no longer being the meaningful football game that Patrick Mahomes has played most recently. And for that, I am extremely grateful, as I am to talk to you every week, Seth. If you want to read this story, do it at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. You can go to bit.ly/SethHatesMoney, or you can click through the links on his Twitter account at RealMNChiefsFan. Also, sounds like something's coming around the corner on The Athletic. Plus, later in the week, I believe we're going to have a new episode of Time Czars sometime before the Browns game kicks off. So lots of places you can hear Seth and read all of his work and hear the things that he does. He's also on with Ryan Tracy. And just, if you basically scroll through Twitter at any given point, there's a decent chance that Seth has produced some piece of content just for you. Seth, thank you, and happy football week.
Happy football week, my friend.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Kansas City is home to some amazing companies like NetSmart. NetSmart is a technology-based healthcare company redefining whole-person care across the country. 680,000 healthcare providers log into a NetSmart solution to help make their position easier so they can spend more time with those in their care. NetSmart has been awarded a Best Place to Work 3 years in a row by Ingram's Magazine. NetSmart is hiring. Go to ntst.com/careers.
My girlfriend is really into fashion, and she's particular about what she likes. That's why I went to Shane Company for her engagement ring. I wanted to get it right, and I knew I definitely needed some help. So I met with one of their jewelry consultants. The only thing I knew going in was that she wanted a platinum ring, and her favorite color is pink. He showed me tons of ring settings in platinum. I learned it's a premium metal that develops a patina over time, and platinum makes a great family heirloom, which is really cool. We picked the perfect style for her. Then we looked at all the options for center stones. He told me that Shane Company is known for their vibrant, natural sapphires. I liked the idea of doing something totally unexpected, so I chose an awesome pink sapphire for the center of her ring. I knew I nailed it. My girlfriend, my fiance, said she couldn't have imagined a more beautiful ring.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. I played linebacker. I won a state championship. I played Division I ball. I know a thing or two about winning. A winning attitude starts with confidence. My law firm is so confident in what we do that if we take your injury case and we don't win, you don't pay us a dime. So if you've been hurt, call me. My team wants to win for you. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Are you not getting your deliveries? Not getting what you ordered? Have you recently been fired as a customer from your distributor? Our friends at Regal Distributing are ready to pick up the ball and run with it for you and your business. Regal Distributing is the #1 locally owned independent distributor, serving you since 1955 with locations throughout the U.S. They have in stock right now everything you need for your restaurant or business, including sanitation and restroom supplies. Contact Regal Distributing Company at 913-894-8787 or go to getregal.com.
For 11 years, Breaking the Norm has presented the best and most uplifting stories in sports, entertainment, and business, and we wouldn't be here without our amazing partners and you, our faithful listeners. Your stories of life change, loving others, and inspiration keep us dedicated to making a difference in the world, one story at a time. Tune in Tuesdays at 4 p.m. on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM and Saturday mornings at 7 on Sports Radio 810 WHB for something good, something positive, and something real on Breaking the Norm.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-249-1749. 800-249-1749. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-249-1749 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
There's only one loan program that can have your home paid off in less than 10 years and have you living debt-free without changing your spending habits. The Freedom Loan, exclusive at A1 Mortgage, works by paying mostly principal first before the interest ever has a chance to accumulate. This lowers your loan balance, saving you thousands in interest and taking years off your mortgage. Call A1 Mortgage now at 816-822-8888, 822-8888. If you're serious about your finances and want to have your home paid off in less than 10 years, the Freedom Loan is perfect for you. Call A1 Mortgage now and enjoy no out-of-pocket closing costs and your loan closed in about 10 days. 816-822-8888, 822-8888. Or apply online at a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group LLC, a Kansas licensed mortgage company, license number MC0001649, NMLS 268370. Programs and rates subject to change without notice.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Do we have anything to talk about this week? It is just, man, it's been a slow news weekend. It's Tuesday, therefore, it's Seth Keysor time. Beers, I need you to cut the music. Thank you. I was stalling until you would cut the music, and you just took so long, even after previously having a discussion about cutting the music. Seth, will you yell at Beards for me?
With Joshua Brisco.
Beards, I don't want to say you're a terrible person, but I'm not going to say you're not a terrible person. That's,
Thank you.
I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence. We'll see what happens with the music next time.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Thanks again to Seth Keysor for joining us as he does darn near every Tuesday and has for a very long time now. The least you could do is to go check out that story we talked about there up on mnchiefsfan.substack.com right now. This is the singular thing that makes this offseason kind of funny. And it also is what makes the Chiefs simultaneously, I think, maybe the easiest and maybe the hardest team in the NFL to talk about as much as we do, is that, this whole offensive line rebuild and everything, the purpose of that is to allow Patrick Mahomes to be peak Patrick Mahomes more often, and at the very least, to never make him have to be distressed, running away, throwing the ball horizontal Patrick Mahomes ever again.
Which was fun to watch. Like, I would like to see him do it once and complete a touchdown pass just for that memory.
The horizontal pass specifically,
but like
not
once.
the entire game.
No.
Yeah, that works for
me. But
me.
like just like once, right?
But that's
not
one superhero style throw. Which was the LSU quarterback that had like the throwaway where he was facing the other end zone and went
behind the back.
And that play ended up, I believe, It kept them in field goal range or something, or if he would have taken that sack, it would have actually been bad. It nearly got picked off, but we'll see Patrick Mahomes complete that at some point this year. But like you look at all the charts in this story, and it continues to drive home this point, and there are people, somebody on NFL Network, I honestly don't remember who it was, said, Josh Allen's the best quarterback of football right now. I'll say it. And you can say all that stuff that you want, and it's always going to make you sound silly. Legally you can.
Yeah.
But it's always going to make you sound silly because everything, both empirically and subjectively, is so outrageously clear that Patrick Mahomes is playing this sport like a different human being, and he's playing it like it is, in fact, a different sport.
We've talked about it on the show before. It's just been a while. This happens all the time to great athletes, like where you start off being amazed and you love, and then that turns to hate, right?
Right.
Like it happened to LeBron James, it happened to Tom Brady.
Yep.
But it took a while. Like Tom Brady won 3 titles before people really started hating him. LeBron James had to leave for a different team before people really started hating him.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes, it was 1 year. He had 1 year as a starter, and people were like, well, he's not really that good. And, people were the second he won the MVP, people started not everybody, but people started turning on him and trying to find things here and there. And then of course the Super Bowl loss, I think it's just amplified that because anytime we watch Mahomes and Josh Allen's amazing.
Sure.
I've never been more wrong, I think, on a quarterback than I was on Josh Allen.
Sure.
But every time we've seen those two go head to head, it's just not close.
I think the
It's just not close.
most wrong I've ever been about a quarterback is that I thought Patrick Mahomes would just be awesome, and not the best thing to ever touch a football. I think that's the most wrong I've ever been.
That's true, because I also thought Patrick Mahomes would be good.
I was like, oh man, I
didn't think he'd be this.
I think Patrick Mahomes could be Brett Favre. It's like, no, he's Aaron Rodgers plus only the good parts of Brett Favre.
People, I
plus
think
something we haven't seen before.
I think the average, evaluator, right? Like Mahomes' ceiling was essentially Jameis Winston, where it's like you're getting 30 touchdown passes in a year, but you're also probably going to get right. Like
Brett
Favre
is a more flattering compared. Well,
yes,
in some ways,
I think fair point. I think it depended on where you were at. Like if you were the high end of Mahomes, it was Brett Favre, right?
Yeah.
Where he'll throw a lot of interceptions, but it's way more touchdowns because Brett Favre threw a ton of interceptions, but he threw way, way, way more touchdowns, right?
Yep.
Like he made way more good plays than bad.
Yep.
Jameis Winston, I think, was honestly, though, I think was what the average
more
person
popular,
who thought he was going to become, because again, there's a lot of those touchdowns. They're just literally at most years as many interceptions, and he's just he does not throw interceptions. He does not turn the ball. He's not a gunslinger because he does not turn the ball over.
Right. I think for me, if I'm remembering, maybe I don't know, it was long enough ago that it would be hard to quote myself or whatever, but my feeling was, give me the gunslinger
for sure,
because the good plays will always outweigh the bad if he is as good as he looks.
Yeah.
A pick 30 yards downfield is worth it if it's a guy, as we just talked about, who throws the ball past the freaking sticks.
Yeah.
And he's all of those things with none of those turnover problems in a way that is, and I don't even know if that really ends up factoring in. I mean, EPA, not turning the ball over, certainly helps because you're not losing EPA on some of that stuff. CPOE, certainly, I mean, if you're completing a pass, it's not being picked off, whatever. It's just, he's both, and that's something else that comes up in the story. He's remarkably efficient, remarkably talented, remarkably all of those things at once. I like ending a show on a little Patrick Mahomes talk.
It's fun.
Go read Seth's story and come back tomorrow, because tomorrow, here on Almost Entirely Sports, we say goodbye to Beers McFly. I didn't think about that rhyming, but it did. Tomorrow night, the last Beards McFly, Almost Entirely Sports. Talk to you then. Bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on